My boyfriend wants to sell a condo he bought with his parents' help, potentially costing him $25,000. He's assuming I'll cover that loss because I've rebuilt my savings after significant hardship. Is it fair to expect me to financially absorb his decisions before even getting engaged? The champagne tasted like regret, or maybe it was just the lingering sweetness fighting with the knot in my stomach. Liam was beaming, practically vibrating with the kind of careless joy that used to charm me. Now it just felt loud. He was recounting the story of the condo sale to our friends, punctuating each sentence with a dramatic flourish of his hand. And then, boom, the market just shifted. Brutal, right? But hey, lessons learned. Lessons learned. That's what he kept saying, as if the entire situation was a playful game of Monopoly. A temporary setback, easily shrugged off. What he didn't say, what he glossed over with that infuriatingly easy grin, was that I was supposed to be picking up the pieces. 2 years. 2 years we'd been together. A solid, comfortable 2 years. A year of living together, of merging our lives, of talking about everything, including the future. Engagement rings had been discussed. Wedding venues, tentatively, had been browsed. A mortgage, eventually, had been the topic of serious conversation. Because, of course, buying a house together felt like the logical next step. And then this, the condo, the one he bought before I even existed in his world, the one his parents practically shoved him into, had sold for significantly less than had hoped, had been bleeding money on it for months. And now, the loss was substantial. And his solution, his completely casual, nonchalant solution, was to expect me to cover it. Not all of it, Head said, initially, just a portion. A portion that, after the realtor fees and closing costs, amounted to a significant chunk of the emergency fund ID painstakingly built. The fund that represented years of sacrifice, of ramen dinners and second-hand furniture, of saying no to things I wanted, just to make sure I had a cushion. My mom died when I was 21. Sudden, unexpected, a heart attack, left me with a gaping hole in my life and absolutely no safety net. My dad, bless his heart, is a good man, but he's been battling a chronic illness for years. The medical bills alone are a constant low hum of anxiety. Financial security isn't a luxury for me, Liam. It's survival. It's the bedrock of my existence. He doesn't understand that. He can't. He's grown up with parents who've always been there. A constant flow of support. A comfortable financial safety net woven beneath his feet. They paid for his education. The condo down payment, probably a good chunk of his wardrobe. He's never had to fight for anything. So, are you in? He'd asked last Tuesday, after the initial awkward silence following his explanation. The question hung in the air, laced with an expectation that made my skin crawl. It wasn't a question, really. It was a statement disguised as a request. ID stammered something about needing to think about it, about reviewing our budget. Head laughed, a dismissive wave of his hand. Don't worry so much, Elara. It's just money. We'll figure it out. Just money. Those 3 words felt like a punch to the gut. It wasn't just money. It was trust. It was commitment. It was the quiet, creeping fear that I was building a future with someone who fundamentally didn't understand my values, my needs, my very existence. Now, watching him charm our friends with his breezy optimism, I felt a coldness settle in my bones. The champagne turned bitter. I took a long sip, forcing it down, and wondered how ID ever managed to mistake his carelessness for confidence, his privilege for strength. I wondered, with a sudden, sharp clarity, if I was making a terrible mistake. The wine tasted like ash. I swirled it in the glass, pretending to analyze the bouquet while my brain tried to process what ID just heard. $25,000. Just floated out of his mouth like a casual observation about the weather. Realistically, it's going to be costing you $25K because I don't have that money. The phrasing, the utter lack of hesitation. It wasn't a request. It was a statement of fact. A transaction. Costing me. I finally managed, the words brittle. What do you mean, costing me? He shrugged, that infuriatingly nonchalant gesture that made him look like he was perpetually amused by something I couldn't see. "Well, you have your RRSP. It's the easiest way. You can withdraw it, pay the taxes, and I can rebuild my savings faster. We'll be in a much better position for a down payment on a house later. Remember, renting together is about the long game." The long game. Everything was always about the long game with him. A carefully calculated spreadsheet of future gains, with me slotted in as a readily available resource. It wasn't about us. It was about his projections. I felt a wave of nausea. My RRSP. It represented years of careful budgeting, of denying myself things, of sacrificing immediate gratification for a secure future. It was my safety net, my retirement plan, my potential escape hatch if things ever went sideways. And he wanted me to liquidate it, to bail him out. "Liam," I started, trying to keep my voice even, but the tremor was there. That's a significant amount of money. It's not just easy. There are tax implications, penalties. It impacts my future." He waved a dismissive hand. Details. We can figure it out. You're good with numbers, right? You can run the calculations. As if I were his personal accountant, tasked with making his financial blunders disappear. My dad had done that for his stepmother, burying her in spreadsheets and justifications. And the memory, raw and bitter, surfaced unbidden. That helpless, suffocating feeling of being manipulated, of having your agency stripped away. "I don't understand why I would be responsible for this," I said, louder this time, the tremor now a visible shake in my hands. "You bought the condo. You're responsible for the mortgage, for the upkeep. Why should I absorb the loss?" He sighed, a long, dramatic exhalation that suggested I was being unreasonable. "Because, Elara, we're a team. We're building a future together. It's an investment in our shared goals. And let's be honest, your income is significantly higher than mine right now. It makes sense." The logic was twisted, a perversion of partnership. It wasn't about shared goals. It was about him exploiting my financial stability for his convenience. And the casual dismissal of my feelings, the way he framed it as a matter of simple arithmetic. It was a deliberate tactic, I realized with a chilling certainty, to normalize the abnormal, to wear me down. "A team means shared responsibility," I countered, fighting to keep the anger from spilling over. "It doesn't mean one person carries the weight of another's mistakes. It doesn't mean one person funds another's financial decisions." I saw a flicker of something in his eyes then, a brief flash of annoyance that quickly vanished behind his practiced charm. He didn't like being challenged. He preferred the ease of expectation. He didn't respond immediately. He just looked at me, a disconcerting neutrality in his gaze. Then he smiled, a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "You're overthinking this. It's just money, Elara. Don't be so difficult." I wanted to scream. The word difficult hung in the air, a physical weight pressing down on my chest. It wasn't a malicious word. Not exactly. It was the casual dismissal, the way it instantly shut down any possibility of a real conversation. I stared at the chipped paint on the kitchen cabinets, the familiar comfort of my own apartment suddenly feeling alien. Just money, as if $25,000 was a rounding error, a trivial inconvenience, as if my future, my security, my carefully constructed independence were also just money. The thought wormed its way into my head, a terrible, insistent seed. Just do it. Just pull the money. It would be easy. It would solve the immediate problem. It would silence the nagging voice in my head that kept whispering about power imbalances and future vulnerability. The RRSP, my retirement, a fund ID meticulously built over years of scrimping and saving, sacrificing vacations, nice clothes, even decent coffee, all for the promise of a comfortable future. To rate it now, the tax implications alone were brutal. The long-term opportunity cost, devastating. I ran the numbers in my head, a cold dread settling in my stomach. Every dollar lost now was a dollar I wouldn't have later, a dollar that could have grown, a dollar that could have been mine. I found myself pacing, the tile cold beneath my bare feet. He was watching me, that same unnerving stillness in his expression. He didn't understand the sheer magnitude of what he was asking. It wasn't about the money itself. It was about the principle. It was about the expectation. It was about the feeling that I was being subtly, persistently molded into something I wasn't: a safety net, a financial cushion, an always available resource. "I need to think about this," I finally said, my voice flat. He shrugged. "Think away. It's a simple yes or no." The nonchalance was infuriating. "It's not simple to me," I retorted, the words sharper than I intended. "It feels like you expect me to, like you're assuming I will." He sighed, a theatrical display of exasperation. "Elara, you're being dramatic. I just need a little help, that's all. I'll pay you back, with interest." The promise felt hollow, a gesture more than a guarantee. "It's not about the interest, Liam. It's about the precedent. It's about the feeling that I'm responsible for something I didn't agree to." I felt my throat tighten. It was hard to articulate the deep, simmering anxiety that had begun to coil within me. If we were to, get engaged, buy a house, build a life together, and something like this happened again, what then? Would I just be expected to bail you out repeatedly? He waved his hand dismissively. "Don't be ridiculous. This is a one-time thing. You're building a wall around yourself, Elara." That was it. The wall. The accusation that I was being difficult, unreasonable, a roadblock to his plans. But was he building a wall too? A wall of expectation, of entitlement, of a casual disregard for my own financial well-being. I realized then that I hadn't been truly heard. My concerns, my anxieties, my carefully articulated boundaries, they were just noise to be dismissed, inconvenient obstacles to his desired outcome. The silence that followed felt vast, echoing with a profound sense of loneliness. Later that night, after Head gone to bed, I started searching, not for a solution, not for a quick fix, but for information. I found a reputable financial advisor, booked a consultation. I also looked up family lawyers, just to understand the legal protections available in a long-term partnership. The sheer act of researching, of seeking independent advice, felt like a small act of rebellion, a reclaiming of my agency. The idea of a prenup, something I'd always considered a sign of distrust, suddenly felt like a lifeline, not a sign of a lack of faith in us, but a practical safeguard against potential future vulnerabilities. I imagined the conversation with him, the awkwardness, the potential for conflict, but the thought of entering a serious commitment without those protections felt even more terrifying. Sleep didn't come easily. The image of my RRSP balance, shrinking with every panicked calculation, haunted me. More than that, the image of Liam's dismissive smile, the casual expectation in his eyes, was a constant, unsettling presence. I felt a growing distance between us, a chasm widening with every unacknowledged concern. I loved him, I truly did, but love wasn't enough. Not when it came to something as fundamental as financial security, as essential as feeling safe. And right now, I didn't feel safe.
Hello, I'm Dr. Julian Reed. Thank you for sharing this with me. What I'm hearing is a deeply distressing situation, and I want to acknowledge the immense emotional toll this is taking on you. It's completely understandable that you're feeling regret, knots in your stomach, and a sense of something being fundamentally off with the dynamic you're experiencing with Liam. Your feelings are valid, and you are right to question this. Let's start by validating what you've experienced. You've built a life, a foundation of security, born out of genuine necessity and loss. The emergency fund you've meticulously created isn't just about having extra money. It represents a crucial lifeline, a way to cope with a world that has already shown you its fragility. To have someone, particularly a partner, so casually suggest you dismantle that safety net to absorb a loss stemming from their decisions is incredibly dismissive and, frankly, disrespectful. The phrase "lessons learned" he keeps repeating highlights a significant problem here. He's framing this entire situation as a learning experience, as if it's a game. This deflects responsibility from him and places the burden squarely on your shoulders. It's a manipulation tactic, minimizing the impact of his actions and avoiding genuine accountability. It's a way of making you feel complicit in the problem, as if you should just accept it as an unavoidable consequence. You've rightly identified a core issue: Liam's lack of understanding, or perhaps more accurately, his inability to grasp the weight of your financial security. His upbringing, with its inherent support system, has shielded him from the realities you've faced. While understanding different backgrounds can be helpful, it doesn't excuse his expectation that you absorb a 25,000 loss. It's a stark demonstration of a lack of empathy and a profound disconnect in your values and priorities. The question he posed, "So are you in?" wasn't a question at all. It was a demand, disguised as a request. His subsequent dismissal of your concerns, telling you to not worry so much, "It's just money," is particularly troubling. It minimizes your feelings, invalidates your concerns, and demonstrates a lack of respect for your boundaries. This pattern of dismissing your concerns and downplaying the importance of your needs is a significant red flag. It sounds like you're experiencing a form of emotional manipulation, potentially bordering on gaslighting. Gaslighting involves subtly distorting someone's perception of reality to make them question their sanity and judgment. While it's difficult to definitively label this as full-blown gaslighting without a more extensive assessment, the behaviors you describe: dismissing your concerns, minimizing your feelings, and creating a sense of obligation, are consistent with manipulative tactics. It's important for you to recognize that you are not responsible for Liam's financial decisions or the consequences thereof. You are not obligated to sacrifice your own security to bail him out. Your feelings of anxiety, discomfort, and resentment are entirely justified. Your instinct to pause and review the budget was absolutely the correct response. You are protecting yourself. In our next session, we can delve deeper into strategies for setting boundaries with Liam, exploring the dynamics of this relationship, and strengthening your sense of self-worth and financial independence. For now, I want you to focus on acknowledging your own feelings and recognizing that you are not wrong to feel the way you do.